The Carolina Hurricanes have their backs against the wall after a third period implosion. They're down 3-0. Zach Martin of Locked On Hurricanes is going to talk about what went wrong and what they need to do to try to claw their way back into the series. All that and more next on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here, and welcome everybody to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. It is my pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes, Zach Martin. And Zach, Saturday night, not kind to the Carolina Hurricanes. Through 40 minutes, they looked good, and then in the third period, everything just seemed to implode. What went wrong in that third period?
Before we start talking about despair, Gil's always good to talk to you, my friend. So thank you for the invite, per usual. Implosion-wise, where do you start with that? You go into the third period. You're tied. Probably the best 40 minutes you've played all series, and then it's just one goal. Okay, then it's another one. And then it's another one, and then there's another one, and you give up 4 goals in 8 minutes. I think 2 of them were in like 29 seconds. Just bad turnovers. Dmitry Orlov just had a rough game. Like, you give up the first goal goes off your skate, and then multiple turnovers. You get absolutely burned by Boquist on I think it was the 4-1 goal, I believe. It's just. And the thing, too, is, Gil, like, the crazy part is the Hurricanes had 2 power play goals in this game, and they went perfect on the PK. Like, they completely turned their special teams around, but it's just turnovers, defensive breakdowns, and, I mean, that's why the Panthers are the defending champs for a reason. They're just that good. Gotta give Florida credit. They're just a really great team, and, that's why they're one game away from going back for their third consecutive Stanley Cup final. They're just, gotta give them a lot of credit.
Yeah. How much do you think the physicality of the Florida Panthers is impacting? Because turnovers and bad defense is not the way the Carolina Hurricanes got here. They are known for being a tight defensive team that doesn't give up a lot of quality scoring chances. Is the physicality a major factor here?
Well, the crazy part is, like, the Hurricanes have out-hit the Panthers for a couple of the games in this series, so they're bringing the physicality back to them, but it's just Florida has a way of – we've seen this for the last – if you're including this playoff, you're counting 3 straight consecutive playoffs where they're just imposing their will on whoever they're playing against. Like, it's, getting under guys' skins, getting those little extra hits in, it's – because you know how it goes in the playoffs. You get one little pop, and the ref tells you to stop, and you stop. And over a course of, however many games, it starts, annoying teams no matter who you are or anything. It's just Florida is a team that's built for the playoffs where they will just absolutely grind you down. So, yeah, the physicality is there, but it's the mental warfare of just getting those little extra whacks every single time. And it's just one of those things where Florida is beating you on the ice, they're beating you mentally, and they're beating you physically. It's basically just, it's a complete, like, imposing their will on the other team. And like I said, it's just one of those things where Florida has the identity, they run with it, and that's just how it goes with the team that's built like this. It's a mental warfare with these guys.
Yeah, there was one obviously controversial hit, Eetu Luostarinen, with a boarding major and a game misconduct for a hit on Jackson Blake. Talk me through that and what impact, if any, it had on the game.
Well, I think because you saw the play, it's like, they're going towards the board. You can see, Luosterainen's already got his stick on Jackson Blake. He's already kind of hooking him. And you see Blake trying to pull up, and of course he scrunches down a little bit because it's kind of hard to try to stand up when you got a stick holding you down. And Luostarinen, instead of just pulling, dropping his hands off the stick or trying to at least peel off from Blake, he just continues and just hits him right into the boards head first. And initially, no hand went up for the hook or the board. And the thing is, like you hear from Bissonnette and Eddie Olczyk and all of them, they're saying there should have been a hooking call at least if it was going to be anything. And of course, then you see the boarding, and of course, someone to argue, oh well, what can Luostarinen do there? It's like, well, he's the checking guy, and the rule book goes you're supposed to be in control of your checks, and he went through them, and that's what it was. So I mean, nothing you can do about that. It's just it was an unfortunate play that happened. Luostarinen gets kicked out early, and and a lot of people are going to tell like this game was going to get out of hand because if it's that one, and then as you see the game progress, it was just extra hits after extra hits. And I mean, Panthers are up 6-1. You see Matthew Tkachuk chasing Sebastian Aho at one point too, taking him to the ground, starts punching him on the ice. And then he gets a rough and a 10-game misconduct too. So it's just one of those things where the game just got out of hand. The refs were just not in control of all the extra stuff.
What is it in your mind that has caused the Hurricanes to struggle in conference finals?
That's a great question. I know 2 playoffs ago, you're looking at the 23 conference final. At that point, you don't have Andrei Svechnikov. You got guys that were kind of out. And, they lost every game by 1 goal. So you really can't put the 23 final on anything else other than it was just the Panthers got their bounces. And of course, we all remember that game 1 where it was quadruple overtime. Every other game, after that was an overtime. Game 4 was 1-0 with a Matthew Tkachuk goal with 3 seconds left. So that was just unfortunate bounces where the Hurricanes couldn't figure it out. Then
is it mental at this point where it's been going on for so long? How many games now are we up to that they've lost in a row in a conference final?
Unfortunately, it's 15 consecutive losses at this point. I know a lot of guys are saying it's not mental. They try not to focus on that because they're trying to focus on the now. And some people are like, well, you can't really look at the 2009 team because that was so long ago. And that was even before the height of Crosby and Malkin. They were there for a bit, but it's like those were still 2 young guys on the Penguins team that went back-to-back, cup appearances against the Red Wings when Detroit was still in the West. And that tells you how long ago that was. Now it's just, it's unfortunate things where injuries kind of cropped up at the wrong time for the Canes. Like I said, you lose Andre before the 23 playoffs. Now you lost Walker, you lost Chatfield. Chatfield's been out the entire series. He's one of those guys that they can really rely on too. It's unfortunate injuries, and it's just Florida being Florida, man. It's just they have somehow found a way to get back there once again, and it's just one of those things. it's a lot of credit to Florida. They are just built differently, and they're just exposing a lot of things that I don't know. It's hard to describe like where this whole thing is at.
Obviously, it's hard to win 4 games in a row, but what do the Hurricanes have to do to win 1 game and get this series back to Carolina?
I'd say try to play your system. And unfortunately, right now, like you turn the special teams around because you gave up 4 power play goals in the first 2 games, and you go perfect in game 3. You score a couple yourself, but then you still lose 6-2. Like I said, it could be like a system for a system thing, but right now it's just, I guess, try to weather whatever storm you can and try to try to bend, not break. But at this point, I don't even know. You played 40 great minutes of hockey. It's 1-1. Pierre Kachekup's keeping you in the game, making big saves. You're fighting, and then of course just a couple bounces here and there go in the wrong direction, and it just kind of snowballs. So I guess it's just score. Guys need to shoot the Hurricanes. Honestly, Gil, if I had to answer this question honestly, shoot the dang puck. Like, I don't know. Andrei Svechnikov has now gone 6 consecutive periods without a shot. Sebastian Aho had 1 shot last game. I think he had 3 in this one. the big boys need to score. I mean, Seth Jarvis did get a power play goal, but at that point it's 6-1. Like, okay, good. Chris Paul shoots a 3 and you're down by 42. That's essentially what it is. So it's Carolina just needs to stop being so hesitant. Like, we all know they're supposed to be a high volume shooting team, but they had like 17 shots in game 2. They're just, I don't know what it is. They're just so hesitant on shooting. They're always trying to find those extra pretty passes. Like, you can't do that in the playoffs. You got to go for those greasy goals. And you got to, throw pucks on net. Good things happen because it's working for the Panthers. They're throwing pucks on net. So, yeah, it's just stop with the hesitancy. Get the urgency right from the drop has to be there.
No doubt.
That's all I can say, yeah.
No doubt. All right, Zach, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find the podcast on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. You can find it on X at LO_Hurricanes. If you want to follow me, I'm at OneTrueZach on X. I have a link tree where you can check out where to listen or watch the podcast and check out all the articles that I do over at the Hockey Writers as a credentialed NHL writer.
All right, Zach, thank you so much.
Thanks, Gil.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, but that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You could track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. I love eating out, but not at the expense of my future financial security. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you could use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com. for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year.